Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you. Welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast, George. It's always great to see you. We're doing a class as well. We're gonna do a couple of different things. These are gonna be quick. So I want to work on first how to make a decision. It's really hard to make decisions. So there's a great little formula on how to make a decision, which could help you. One is, it's hard to do this, and I've been battling this with a lot of people. There's a lot of pros and cons. Nothing's a perfect decision. Ion, how are you? I can come into it's fine, Ion. We're very fluid here. You can come to the podcast, pick up some balls. So making a decision is hard, and you deal with it in regards to jobs, in regards to playing tennis. When am I aggressive? When am I not? But you can use this format for anything. So number one is make a plan. And making that plan is you never make assumptions without verification. So think of that phrase. I never make assumptions without a verification. So a lot of times when we play tennis or we work, we make an assumption as to the way things should be. Look at how quick my hands are, George. You see that? Instead of verifying the way they are. Assumptions are the worst. It's like when you play a match and you hope somebody misses a shot. That's making an assumption that you hope and you're not playing, right? So don't make an assumption without verifying that person's game. So say if the person you think is strong at this, let's verify that they are before you avoid it. So if someone's supposed to have a strong forehand or a serve, let's see if it happens before you decide to avoid that stroke. So don't think problems will be solved in the future. That's a big problem. That's part of making a plan. Now, there's problems that happen. You think, I'll ignore the problem, it'll go away. And then that never happens and it gets worse. You got to deal with them head on. So if you're having a problem with your game, you're having a problem with your coach, you're having a problem with when do I play this certain point at this certain time, you have got to work that problem out first, because it'll just build and build. Devin, we'll get you here soon. Don't worry. I'll tell you your goals. We're going to do a goal class too, a goal podcast. So again, they must be dealt with immediately, I wrote down here, as there will be a slew of new problems in the future, which is true. So if you have a problem and you go, I'll cross that bridge later, all of a sudden there's 10 other new problems as well. So that's going to be a larger problem if you don't deal with it immediately, because you're going to have 10 other problems. So if I say to myself on the court, I don't really need to work on this, I'll work on it later, and then all of a sudden you've got 10 other problems with your footwork or your backhand or things like that. Now you've got 12 problems instead of 11. Identify and resolve problems early. It's really, really important. So that's your plan. You want to make a plan, how to make a decision. Then you execute that plan or that decision. And then you're going to measure it afterwards. So you're going to execute it. Like say I want to be aggressive in this point. You're going to execute that, and then you're going to measure it. And then you're going to be like, did that work? Is this the right thing to do? Should I have not done this? Should I have done that? So you're always going to measure. And that's what I was saying today, what is measured is managed. You have to measure it to manage it. And then you're going to correct it. So you measure it, and then you correct it. You go, okay, what was good, what was not, and then I correct it. And then I go and execute it again. So that's kind of that cycle. I make a plan, I execute the plan, I measure it, and then I correct it, and then I execute it again. So a couple of things about it. You don't want to tolerate shortcuts or poor performance. It's not about like doing it the quickest way. It's doing it the best way. You do not want to tolerate shortcuts. Don't take shortcuts. Have standards. Don't settle for poor performance. Always challenge the status quo. Innovate, change, and constant improvement must be the goal. So if you're out here playing tennis, you're always challenging what you're doing. Even if you play a good match, you always want to challenge it. You never want to rest on laurels and say, I'm done. You're never done learning. You're never done growing. You're always innovating, changing, and constant improvement must be the goal. Because if you're not, then you're static, and then you're static and you're done. You know, I was reading an article recently about a 90-year-old investor, and he walks 5 miles a day and has a trainer 3 days a week, and he's always interested in learning and that's why he's vibrant. He's working every day. If you don't stay curious, interested, and have new experiences, you're going to fail on the court and you're going to fail in life. And you just, frankly, won't live that long. Trust but verify. Do not assume without verification. Same thing. Don't make assumptions. You cannot make assumptions without verifying. Don't assume when you're playing doubles that your partner's going to get a ball. Always be prepared and be ready. And that's the problem is we make assumptions out there. We hope someone's going to take a ball. You never assume. You always are out there. So teammates in work, in life, and in sport, you always give 110%. That's obvious. And it's amazing how lucky you become if you approach every day well prepared and willing to outwork the competition. So if you're willing to be prepared and outwork the competition, you are going to be very, very, very successful. You get lucky just by hard work. And this is a great book by part of this is part of a great book called Pleased But Not Satisfied. It's a small little book. Great book. Personal ego is unnecessary, which is interesting. Professional ego can be useful. So you don't want to have a huge ego personally because your wife will throw you out of the house. Your kids won't like you. That'll be a problem. You don't want to be personally have an ego and loving yourself to death. But professionally, you should. You should take pride in your work out here. When we play tennis, we take pride in our work. I expect the player to have an ego and take pride in what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Taking pride in your work and trying to achieve a greater excellence and proficiency, there's nothing wrong with that. Continuing to strive to better does mean you are a better human, just a better professional. It does not mean that. Again, if you're continually striving to be better, it doesn't mean you're a better human. You know, you have to realize that. Just because you're better professionally, you know, some terrible humans, you know, some great winners that are awful humans, you'd like to kind of have a full well-roundedness, you know what I mean? It's hard though, George. I'm sure there's been people that are super successful that are just downright nasty, but I think most people I've met that are successful really have a good balance to them. You know, they really are not terrible people. They always say, "Oh, these rich people are terrible." In my experience, they're really not.
The humble ones that don't need to tell everyone that they're rich.
It's true. It's those humble ones that you don't know they're rich, you don't know they're successful, because they don't have to put it on their sleeve because they have a self-confidence to them, which is true. There's no need for them to kind of strut their stuff. Most people that are strutting their stuff are unsuccessful and insecure. So hopefully this helps. Remember how to make a decision. Plan first, execute, measure, then correct, then just keep repeating that. Execute again. Repeat the last three. Measure, correct. So I hope that helps on the court too. Again, you're always challenging, you're always correcting, you're always challenging yourself. Keep measuring, keep correcting out there. You play a point, whether it's good or bad, you're going to analyze it and you're going to see pros and cons on everything. A match the same way. Don't just kind of play a match without understanding the nuances. It happens a lot. People play matches and you describe to them what happened and they're not really aware of it. And it's a coach's job to make them aware of it because sometimes when you're inside something, just like life, you're not really aware of it. And that's why you should have a mentor and you should have people giving you advice because they'll notice some things that you don't notice because you're so in it. It's really hard. The forest through the trees thing. But I hope this helps. Everybody, have a good week. The answers in the actions. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends. Anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves, share it.